joining us right now. The couple in question, Mark and Patricia McCloskey, who join us from St. Louis via Skype. It's good to see you both. Welcome to the show, and thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having us again.
Thank you.
Of course. I can only imagine your shock. Well, you're probably not really shocked because being in St. Louis City, you're kind of, you've seen this with the St. Louis Circuit Attorney. You know what you're dealing with here. But the fact that you are really being used as political pawns at this point. Tell me about your reaction, both Mark and Patricia, to this, your thoughts on this. And I know that your attorney had said, well, the grand jury didn't get all of the information because during that time, the attorneys aren't allowed in there as they're considering these charges. So we don't know what was presented to them. Your thoughts?
Yeah, the indictments are sealed. So we don't even know what the charges are against us until we show up at court next Wednesday. We have seen the charging documents on the brandishing or flourishing charge. We have no idea what the alleged basis is for the tampering charge, what we've allegedly tampered with. For all I know, they're considering television appearances like this as tampering for jury tampering or something. Who knows these things yet? So I can't comment on what that aspect of the charge is. But the interesting thing about the world these days is that we were in court yesterday morning and the judge indicated that the grand jury had not reached a decision. We went back to the office. We were doing an interview with Netherlands TV, and my daughter called up and said, I understand you just got indicted. So the prosecutor's office leaked to the press an indictment, or both indictments apparently, before we ever learned of it from our own lawyer or from the court. So
wow.
Go figure.
Wow. Well, that's almost not, I hate to say it, it's almost not even surprising in this day and age. So you hear about it from the press before you actually hear about it from your own attorney. As to the tampering charge, and that's very interesting, it's sealed. All of this is speculation from all of these news outlets. And Patricia, I know the last time your husband and I spoke, the only tampering that I saw, and of course you're not going to see a charge for this, was that of the St. Louis Circuit Attorney herself, who was caught by the local NBC affiliate, KSDK, telling the forensics lab to actually tamper with the pistol that was in your possession that had been rendered inoperable for a court case. It was inoperable at the time of this incident, but yet the records show that it was inoperable when it was taken in, rendered operable, and then it was on that basis that the felony charge was made. That's tampering.
Exactly, and that's in writing. I mean, so that's it's well documented. That's how she got there to be able to say that gun was readily capable of lethal use.
Right.
So, I mean, that's what they had to do to get it there. So, I mean, that's the tampering that we see.
Wow.
So I have no idea what they're coming up with here.
Yeah, unbelievable. And for everyone out there, I have the screenshots of all of this, the PDF of all of this up on the website as well. Yeah, it showed that the inoperability of the pistol, it wasn't mentioned in the original July 20th sworn affidavit that was signed by the detective at the time. And even then it was presented. Everyone knew it was inoperable. Then the order was given from Gardner's office to render it operable and then do a test firing. And then magically the charges are revealed. That seems to be criminal. That at least on the part of the St. Louis Circuit Attorney, Mark.
Yeah, and we were talking to Lynn Wood yesterday, and he's planning to file a civil rights lawsuit against Kim Gardner for violation of her civil rights, for not just charging us for doing nothing more than upholding our Second Amendment rights and protecting our property, but also for faking the evidence. So, as I said in the courthouse steps yesterday, if the government is willing to go this far to fake evidence against us for doing nothing more than protecting our property and our lives and my family, think what they do on a national level. We were talking about that this morning. If they're willing to fake evidence in just this case against us, what are they going to do to fake the election?
Right. Well, and that's the $1 million question, and everything that we've seen as well with the Russian collusion on the part of one political party and the FBI and John Brennan and everyone else. Just to give people an idea, because I want to go back to that June incident, and I remember distinctly when I have been looking at video footage of the different mob members as they were going through the broken down gate. This was after they busted it down and the rest of them were streaming through. You both were simply sitting outside, and you weren't doing anything to provoke anything at all whatsoever. You were simply eating your meal, and where you were sitting is visible from the road, and that's what made you targets.
Well, you know, I did say something very inflammatory. After they broke in the gate and started storming into the neighborhood, I went out in the wing of the porch and I said the two most inflammatory words you can say to a Marxist. I said private property. And when I said private property, they came in like a mass of hornets. And that's when Patty went in to call 911 and I went in to get my AR-15.
Yeah. And Patty, you called 911. This was around the time I was reading different stories reported locally as to the police response time because of all of the unrest. This happened after you had that night where buildings were burned. I have a friend that has a warehouse that's in downtown St. Louis, and the front of that building was torched. And then obviously the murder of retired police captain David Dorn. So there was more of a wait time than usual. Tell me about what you heard back from police then and after.
Well, I think it was maybe 3-4 hours later it took them to get there. And when I first went, I called 911. I said, you know, that they broke the gate down. They were streaming in, and they said, well, tell me, are they African American? Are they Caucasian? Are they Hispanics? And I said, all of them. And then I said, wait a second, probably no Hispanics. But I mean, how that is relevant to anything, I have no idea. And so then I was nervous and I ran back because I didn't, you know, I knew that they had the information, the address and so forth. But I mean, it took them hours, and our security guard left the site. So you're there by yourself. Yeah. And what are you going to do?
And this would be stressful for anybody. I mean, there were audible threats that you could hear from different footage, because there's a lot of video out there. That's what I guess some people don't realize in legacy media. There's a lot of video footage out there. There's a lot of things that were being yelled at y'all. And any reasonable person would be nervous, particularly knowing, too, what has been going on in the city leading up to this moment. I mean, did you honestly, what were your thoughts? Just want to tell people where your frame of mind was at that point.
Well, you have to recognize, for people that aren't used to St. Louis, how just incredibly dangerous St. Louis is generally. But on that June 1st, June 2nd day, when they torched downtown St. Louis, in addition to retired Captain David Dorn being murdered, 4 other police officers were shot that night. We watched the 7-Eleven getting looted, from the first brick that went through the window to the looters coming in and cleaning it out, through the firebombs going in, the building becoming engulfed in flames. This is 2 blocks from police headquarters. No police showed up, no fire showed up, 20, 30, 40 minutes of looting and fire. We looked at each other and said, you know, holy, you know what? When the fit hits the shan, you're all out there and you're wild lonesome, and you got to take care of yourself. And then you're familiar with the Central West End. It's got nice little shops and restaurants or bars, or used to. We started seeing more and more of it getting boarded up. The pharmacy around the street from our office gets boarded up. I asked the owner, who was a friend of mine, I said, what happened? He said, the alarm went off. I said, did you go down and see what was going on? He said, no, I didn't want to get killed. I said, well, what happened? He said, well, they pried up the roll-up doors, steel doors, were inside for 6 hours, looting and smashing and stealing everything they could. I said, did the police ever come? He said, 10 hours after the alarm went off. Okay. Wow. Once again, when something happens, you're there on your own. This is a context. You mentioned the Catholics that got beaten up at the St. Louis statue. Mm-hmm. That was the 27th. That was the night before. And the guy that beat up the head of the organization that attacked the Catholics for doing no more than praying went on television, admitted he beat the Catholics, said he would do it again, and they deserved it because they were white. Okay, and he gets charged with a misdemeanor. Eventually, like a week ago, some police officer in the city sent out summons or parking tickets, in effect, to 9 of those 300 to 500 protesters, if you want to use that term, out in front of our house. And the city attorney's office declined to prosecute any of them. And so those charges of those trespassing tickets have all been dismissed. The only thing that hasn't been dismissed are the 2 Class E felonies that we've been charged with, as you mentioned, and as Judge Janine mentioned, can land us in prison for 4 years, cost us our law licenses, cost us our Second Amendment, prevent us from voting unless we live in Florida, and Mike Bloomberg pays our fines.
Yeah. Exactly.
But I mean, it's serious stuff. I mean, we just about it, but you know, the governor's promised to pardon us, but the governor's up for re-election too. If he loses his election and we're subject to George Soros's prosecutor, we're in a world of hurt.
And I hope that the audience out there really realizes, I mean, Kim Gardner did receive a lot of money from George Soros. This is not, hyperbole. I mean, this is something that, I've covered this even with Acorn and that dissolving and turning into more the group there that helped pay for some of the activists that were in Ferguson. Your right to self-defense is under attack. I spoke with the Missouri Attorney General about this. I mean, he believes that you are well protected by Castle Doctrine, but it's insane to see the Missouri law at odds with the political agenda of this St. Louis City prosecutor. I know you're all fighting this, but what would you say to other individuals out there, Patricia and Mark, talking to the McCloskys?
Well, here's the thing. This is a sign of the times and a sign of things to come. If Joe Biden and Kamala Harris become co-presidents, if you will, or the Harris-Biden administration, this desire to incite riots, to have mob rule, to protect the criminals against honest citizens, and to punish people that have the audacity to defend themselves, to have the gall to stand up and protect their own property and exercise their Second Amendment rights, the desire to chill and inhibit that activity will take over the entire country. And why? You were talking about it earlier. Out of chaos comes tyranny. And if they can incite enough anarchy, if they can incite particularly a right-wing response, they will use it to take all our rights away, and they will use it to have the population beg for a strong leader to save them from the anarchy that they themselves have created.
Hurt and Rescue, the classic tale. Mark and Patricia McCloskey, it's good to see you both, and good to see you standing strong and defending yourself justifiably against this political persecution, attacking your right of self-defense. And to remind everyone, Missouri, again, Castle Doctrine, stand your ground, one of the widest in the country of all the states that have it. Missouri AG and many legal scholars say that you're protected, but it doesn't align with that political agenda of Kim Gardner's. We're going to continue following this story as well, and look forward to speaking with you both again. Thanks so much for your time this afternoon. Good to see you.
Thanks for having us on.
Thank you.
Of course. Take care.